Okay, this is Mr. Ellis, and we're going to talk about the hydrosphere today. Let me go ahead and get this into the mode where you can look at it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the hydrosphere. That's what this unit's about. The hydrosphere is pretty much all the water that's on the Earth's surface. That includes your lakes, your rivers, your streams, your oceans, even in the little mud puddle. Okay, it also includes the water that's in the clouds, that's in the air, that's in the what causes it to be so humid, especially in our area. Um, Also includes the water that is underneath the ground, and that is in ice. A big percentage you need to know is that 97% of the water on Earth is in the ocean, and it means it's salt water, which means we can't drink it. We really can't use it for much. Only 3% of the water on Earth is fresh water. That doesn't seem like a lot, and it's not really. Um, and of that 3%, only 1% is available for us to drink. A thing that a lot of people don't realize is that most fresh water on Earth is found in ice, not in under the ground, not in rivers, lakes, and streams. It's in ice, and that's going to be an EOG question. So you better remember that part. Okay, the next thing, a river basin. Now, river basins, they're the land that kind of water flows across or under. We actually have 17 in North Carolina. You have probably, you hear the bell ring, don't you? But in North Carolina, we have 17. You've probably seen on the roads, you'll say like you're entering the Cape Fear River Basin or you're entering the Neuse River Basin. And when you get towards the beach, you're entering um, there's the Lumber, there's the White Oak River Basin. Okay, there's 17 of them. The main one that we actually live in is the Cape Fear River. And it is actually largest. It actually stretches all the way from Greensboro all the way down to Wilmington. Okay, now if you were to go to Goldsboro, which is a little farther north for us, you'd actually be in the Neuse River Basin. Okay, and that kind of flows from Raleigh through Goldsboro, Kinston, and goes into to Newbern. Um, what I would always tell my kids is that if I were to take some water, a cup of water, and just take it and dump it into the football field right outside our school, and that water would eventually drain into the Cape Fear River. It would go underground. It would all drain because of the elevation changes. Okay, it causes the water to go downhill because of gravity. So then that water would go to the Cape Fear River, and it would go all the way down to Wilmington, get into the ocean. Okay. There's a little crude map. It's you can probably find a better one online, but you can see how many. Notice that there's a whole lot of them near the mountains in the western part of the state, but in the eastern part of the state, we have there's less, and you can see that's the biggest one right there, the Cape Fear that we're in. We're kind of right in here somewhere. Okay. Okay, a tributary. A tributary is like little creeks that come out of a river or stream. Well, we all know the Cape Fear River doesn't go through Sampson County. Okay, we have two tributaries of the Cape Fear: the Black River and the South River. And the cool thing about in Sampson County, those rivers are actually almost like our county lines between Cumberland County and us and Bladen County and us. Okay, and most of y'all probably have been around the Black River or the South River. Okay, a watershed is kind of similar to river basin. It's the area of lands where it's kind of ridged up, and you can see right here like a little mountain right here. And like I was saying before, if I took some water and I poured it, it would flow down to that river. Another joke I always tell my kids in class is that if I was going to pee on the football field, that the water in my pee would actually go down to the Cape Fear River. I know it's a little crass and crude, but hey, y'all, I know y'all kids like that. Okay, surface water. Okay, that's all the water that collects on the surface. We got rivers, you got lakes, streams, creeks, ponds, oceans, seas. Okay, that's where most of us, if I ask a little kindergartner where they know where water's at, that's probably they would probably give me one of these answers. Okay. The next thing is called groundwater. Now, groundwater is the water that's found underground. It's usually found in the cracks and spaces in soil, sand, and rock. You remember in sixth grade, you talked about soil and rocks and how soil has lots of air pockets in it. Well, that's where that water collects. Now, the cool thing about groundwater, you better know this, because this is going to be on the OG, is that groundwater is cleaner. Because what happens is the water that has all the dirty toxins in it, it goes through the soil, and the soil is like a filter, and it keeps all the bad stuff from getting. So actually, some of the cleanest water is actually way underneath the ground, and it's found in these things that we call aquifers. Okay, now aquifers, they're a big old rock. I always kind of say they're kind of like a cooler. They contain all this groundwater that has kind of soaked into the ground. So every time it rains, you see if it rains a lot, you see a bunch of water on the ground. Then eventually it goes away. Some of it evaporates, and then of course some of it goes into the ground. Okay, now the word permeable, that's a word probably a lot of you don't know. Permeable means that things can go through it, such as water or gas. Like a sponge is permeable. Okay, a screen door is permeable. Aquifers are like sponge rocks. They're huge coolers that are made out of rock and they hold that stuff. And this is where we get most of our fresh water because we have wells that we dig into the aquifers around us. And we're lucky to be in North Carolina. We get a lot of rain, unlike other parts of the United States and the world. Okay, I know y'all have heard about the water cycle since you probably were in elementary school. Okay, that's the process where how water goes from liquid to solid to gas. Okay, it circulates between the oceans and the atmosphere and the land. Okay, now here's the crazy thing: is that the same amount of water we have on the earth today, is the same exact water that happened when the world began, millions and millions and millions and millions of eons and years ago. Okay, so the other little joke I always tell people is that technically, when you go drink water, you're drinking the same water that a dinosaur drank. You could be drinking the same water that George Washington, the first president of the United States, drank. You could be drinking the same water that Jesus drank. Okay, so it's the same water. It just changes form, and it's been recycled over and over and over. Now, some of y'all are saying, "Well, Mr. Ellis, how come people have droughts and ain't got no water everywhere?" Well, it's because a lot of times we use up the water, but that water is somewhere. Okay, it might not be where we can get it. It could be somewhere else. That is a little picture. It's kind of a little fuzzy, but you got the water in the ocean. It evaporates. That's when the water turns from a liquid to a gas, goes into the clouds. Y'all should talk about this in 7th grade when y'all did weather. You got the clouds condense. They get heavy. They precipitate. Precipitation is rain, snow, sleet, hail. It comes down. Okay. It runs off, runs back into the ground, and immediately goes to the ocean. Okay, and it's just a cycle that keeps going and going. Okay, we want to talk about some of these things. Evaporation. Again, I said this is changing a liquid to a gas. Most of it takes place over the oceans. That's where most evaporation. And evaporation always occurs more and at a faster rate when it's in a hot, sunny place. If I take 2 cups of water and I put one outside right now because it's summertime, and then I put one in a closet somewhere in darkness where it's kind of cool and you AC in your house, the one that is outside is going to evaporate more. I mean, y'all all know that if you put a cup out, the liquid in it is going to actually disappear. Okay, it doesn't really disappear; it just turns into a gas and goes up into the air, and eventually it'll come back falling back down as rain or other some type of precipitation. Okay, transpiration. You might not know this word. Transpiration is a process where plants kind of like sweat water. Okay, water comes out of their leaves, kind of like how we sweat. I always call it plant sweating because with humans it's called perspiration when we sweat. Well, plants do transpiration. That's how they get water out of their leaves. And it usually comes out of their leaves, okay? Not their stems or their roots. Roots are where they collect the water from the ground. But transpiration is when they let out water, just like we do. So plants are kind of similar to us as letting out liquid sweat. Okay, condensation. I know you've always had a cold Pepsi Cola. They got a picture right here. You got it out there, and all of a sudden all this liquid starts forming. Okay, that's when a gas turns into a liquid. Okay, that's what happens with clouds and what causes precipitation. And there's your precipitation. We've said rain, snow, sleet, or hail that falls to the ground. Infiltration. Okay, infiltration. You probably heard this when you talk about spies infiltrating us. And y'all know the news, Russia infiltrated the United States and all Facebook and all that crazy stuff. Okay, but that's social studies class. We'll leave that for Ms. Waters. Science class, infiltration means that something goes into. So what happens, like I told you before, the water gets on the ground. You can see it right here, and it infiltrates and goes into the ground and goes into the aquifers and becomes our groundwater. Okay, and then that water that doesn't go down into the soil, it actually runs off. And I know you've probably seen like parking lots and stuff. Here's a curve on the side of the sidewalk where the water just goes and flows into a ditch. Ditch a lot of times is runoff. And that's pretty much it. So I guess that we are done with this lesson, and I will see you good people later when we talk about oceans next time.